hid under his coat and left the rest of the meat for the two in the slout and walked away. When little Juanita awoke, it was almost sunset. She sat up very frightened, but her goats were all about her. She began to drive them home. "I do not think there are any lost," she said. Dirk, the Hottentot, had brought his flock home already and stood at the kraal door with his ragged yellow trousers. The fat old Boer put his stick across the door and let Juanita's goats jump over one by one. He counted them. When the last jumped over, "Have you been to sleep today?" he said. "There is one missing." Then little Juanita knew what was coming, and she said in a low voice, "No." And then she felt in her heart that deadly sickness that you feel when you tell a lie. And again she said, "Yes." "Do you think you will have any supper this evening?" said the Boer. "No," said Juanita. "What do you think you will have?" "I don't know," said Juanita. "Give me your whip," said the Boer to Dick, the Hottentot. The moon was all but full that night. Oh, but its light was beautiful. The little girl crept to the door of the outhouse where she slept and looked at it. When you are hungry and very, very sore, you do not cry. She leaned her chin on one hand and looked with her great dove's eyes. The other hand was cut open, so she wrapped it in her pinafore. She looked across the plain at the sand and the low karoo bushes with the moonlight on them. Presently there came slowly from far away a wild springbuck. It came close to the house and stood looking at it in wonder, while the moonlight glinted on its horns and in its great eyes. It stood wondering at the red brick walls, and the girl watched it. And then suddenly, as if it scorned it all, it curved its beautiful back and turned, and away it fled over the bushes and sand like a sheeny streak of white lightning. She stood up to watch it, so free, so free. Away, away. She watched till she could see it no more on the wide plain. Her heart swelled larger, larger, larger. She uttered a low cry, and without waiting, pausing, thinking, she followed on its track. Away, away, away. I also, she said. I also. When at last her legs began to tremble under her, and she stopped to breathe, the house was a speck behind her. She dropped on the earth and held her panting sides. She began to think now. If she stayed on the plain, they would trace her footsteps in the morning and catch her. But if she waded in the water in the bed of the river, they would not be able to find her footmarks, and she would hide there where the rocks and the kopjes were. So she stood up and walked towards the river. The water in the river was low, just a line of silver in the broad bed of sand, here and there broadening into a pool. She stepped into it and bathed her feet in the delicious cold water. Up and up the stream she walked, where it rattled over the pebbles, and past where the farmhouse lay, and where the rocks were large, she leapt from one to the other. The night wind in her face made her strong. She laughed. She had never felt such night wind before. So the night smells to the wild bucks, because they are free. A free thing feels as a chained thing never can. At last she came to a place where the willows grew on each side of the river and trailed their long branches on the sandy bed. She could not tell why. She could not tell the reason, but a feeling of fear came over her. On the left bank rose a chain of kopjes and a precipice of rocks. Between the precipice and the river bank there was a narrow path covered by the fragments of fallen rock, and upon the summit of the precipice a kippersol tree grew, whose palm-like leaves were clearly cut out against the night sky. The rocks cast a deep shadow, and the willow trees on either side of the river. She paused, looked up and about her, and then ran on, fearful.